Well, thanks for joining, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time out to spend the next hour or two with us. It's congratulations to you all. It takes a ton of courage to do what you're doing, and it's a really, really important step. I mean, this is something that we spend a lot of time doing. For those in the Hampton Roads area, which most of you should be, this is the first stop in terms of how you get on the ecosystem roadmap, if you will. Because the first thing you want to do is validate your business idea, and this is that place to validate your idea. So before you quit your job, before you max out credit cards, before you take out a second mortgage on your house, we want to make sure that hey, that you have an idea that is worth pursuing, and we want to validate that idea as soon as we can, so that way you don't have to worry about those things that I just talked about. So this is the first stop, and congratulations to you all for spending some time with us. The agenda for today, it's pretty simple. We're going to talk about the elements of the pitch, and then this will give you the opportunity to ask questions. Just let me get through the deck, if you will, and then unless it's a real burning question, then feel free to jump in, but I'm sure that I'll answer most of those questions. But at the same time, when we're done, don't forget to ask any questions, or don't hesitate to ask any questions, because I'm sure your question will be able to help everyone in attendance, because they may have the same question as well. And like I said, we will send a copy of this recording out to everybody, and we'll post it to our YouTube channel as well. But part of that, the feedback, if you want to, for the second hour, if you want to practice your pitch, you're very welcome to do that. And I'll give you some feedback in terms of what I thought, some things that you may want to think about. If you don't have a pitch and you really truly just have a brand new business idea, then this is a perfect place for you all. As I go through the elements of the pitch, just grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and just start writing down one sentence at a time. So once we dig in, the problem that I'm solving is, and then just write those details down. And we're going to break that stuff down into several different areas. And so then before you know it, you have a really, really great outline of just the raw data in terms of the things that you're doing. And then we can continue to finesse that. But for that second hour, what you can do is just read directly off of that piece of paper, because that will give you a really great indication of what 3 minutes looks like. A lot of people are like, man, 3 minutes is, some people think it's a really long time. Some people think it's a really short time, but I think that you're going to be amazed at how much information that you have and how difficult it is to pass on all of that information in just 3 minutes. So we'll open up that second hour for people that want to practice their pitch. All right. In terms of, for those people, for Start Peninsula, again, attending this, congratulations. This is a really, really big step. To take something that you are passionate about takes a lot of courage. This is your baby, and a lot of times this is the first time that anyone even shares what that idea looks like. So I applaud you for doing that. Everyone, please check your ego at the door. Everyone is good enough to be here, and no one is too good to be here. So we all learn from one another. We don't cast judgment on one another. It's a learning opportunity. We encourage people to lean forward into the discomfort, and we'll all learn as a result. I touched on this a couple of minutes ago. Your next step should be to apply to pitch at Start Peninsula. That is going to be on September 14th from 6 to 8, same time as this, on Zoom. So make sure that you apply. There's only 3 spots left. It's capped at 10. So with 3 slots left, and like I said, we have over 50 people that are registered between today and tomorrow. It is in your best interest to register as quickly as possible. And this is the first time that we've done this. We've never want to be perceived as a pay to pitch type of event. That has never been the case. It's never been like, oh, we're going to generate X amount of revenue based on pitches. The only reason that we ever charged anybody to pitch is we want to make sure that anybody that registers to pitch, they actually show up. Since we sell out every single time we do a micro pitch competition, the last thing that we would ever want to have happen is people register, not show up, and then not give the people that are serious about pitching the opportunity to pitch. So you're here, that's awesome. You get credit for that. And then when you compete on the 14th, then we'll go ahead and refund you the $50 for the pitch ticket. It's just so that you have a little bit of skin in the game so that you show up, and then you don't take that pitch slot away from someone else. So let's dive into it. Unless anyone has any questions about the micro pitch. This resembles everything. So there are no secrets when it comes to what Pitch Perfect is. You're going to pitch to 3 judges. You have 3 minutes followed with a 2-minute question and answer period. This is the same one. The pitch that you're going to use at Start Peninsula is the exact same pitch that you're going to use when you're meeting with potential customers, when you're meeting with, if you're trying to find a co-founder, if you're meeting with investors. This is all the same stuff that's going to carry over pitch after pitch after pitch. So the whole idea is this is the foundation. We want to start you off on that. It's really strong foundation. So this is not a time where we're going to try to stump the chump kind of environment. We're going to give you the answers to the quiz because we want you to do really well on this quiz. So the rubric that the judges have, we are discussing those exact same things because we want you to succeed. Those people that do attend Pitch Perfect, they typically do very well in Start Peninsula. So you pitch in September, the top 3 advance to the final event in November. And then in November, we'll have the top 10 people pitch from all the micro pitch competitions that we've had. And then the top 3 will get $5,000 in seed funding. And then places 4 through 10, they will get $500 in seed funding. We realize that that's not what it's going to take to have a successful business. We get that, but the people that make that final 10, 7 of the 10 go through Pitch Perfect, and of the winners, 2 of 3 go through Pitch Perfect. So go to Pitch Perfect. If you think you need to do it again, go to tomorrow's, watch the recording, listen to what I have to say. Tomorrow night, Gary Plague is going to be leading the class. I have a business background. Gary has the communications background. We both have been doing this for a long period of time. We know what we're talking about. So some background on me. I've been involved in Start Peninsula since the very beginning. This is our 11th year doing Start Peninsula. We continue to evolve the program. We've seen a lot of really great successes as a result of it. So really, really proud of that. People have gone on to raise over $50 million in seed funding. Many of them go on to accelerators. We're really, really proud of the results that we have. So that gives you a little bit about the very beginnings of me. I went on to create the Launchpad. That was the business incubator for Greater Williamsburg. I'm also now the executive director of Startwheel. So I've been really, really involved in the entire entrepreneurial process. I'm also an angel investor. I've invested in over 30 companies now, ranging from very, very early stage companies all the way to SpaceX. So from that investor point of view, yeah, I can look at everything and listen to everything in terms of this is what I need to hear before I would be willing to write a check. So I believe that I provide a pretty interesting insight in terms of that. So let's dig in. So like I said, we have 3 minutes. We're going to put that on the clock. Everything will be timed and you will be cut off if you don't finish. So we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock. Like I said, we're going to have judges. We spend a lot of time with the judges. They all have experience at writing checks. They're going to listen to this as investors, and they're going to evaluate you as such. If you don't prepare, this is what happens. And a lot of times we are not a lot of times, but there's been on occasion times that we have seen this as a result. This is what we're trying to avoid. We want everyone to do really well and set you up for success. So the big thing is let's break down 3 minutes in terms of what is involved with the pitch. So as we get into this, I want you all to realize that you do not have to take this stuff. This is not like a recipe that if you do a teaspoon versus a tablespoon, it's going to mess up the recipe. These are just really guidelines for you so that you know how to structure that pitch. So take 10 seconds with the attention getter. Notice I didn't say provide your name. You want that attention getter. That could be a quote. It could be a statistic. It could be just anything other than your name, because you want to get people to start listening to you. Then you can get into the problem, and oftentimes that attention getter leads right into that problem. So you have the problem and opportunity, 50 seconds for that. And again, we're going to break all this stuff down in terms of different points that you want to take into consideration. A word of caution to the founders: historically, if if you're a first-time founder, this is where people get lost, because you can talk about the problem for a really long time. And if you dwell on the problem and you only have 3 minutes, then oftentimes you're skipping out on what the judges really want to hear. They want to hear about the solution. They want to hear how you differentiate yourself. So you got the problem or opportunity, talk about that. Then you can get into your solution, another 50 seconds there. Then at that point, now everyone is picking up what you're putting down. They're buying what you're selling. Now you can talk about your name. So typically what I would recommend, you have your name, your business name, and then a quick one-liner in terms of what it is that you do. So my name is Tim Ryan. I am the program coordinator for Start Peninsula, where we validate early stage business ideas. Bam. I mean, it's super quick. It's to the point. And then you can get into your target market for another 50 seconds there. And then before you know it, we're taking that last 10 seconds and we're closing everything out. So with that closing, again, if this is another time where you can say, thank you very much. Again, my name is Tim Ryan. I'm the program coordinator for Start Peninsula, where we validate early stage business ideas. But other things to consider is, what do you need to be successful, and what's going to make them want more? You really need to view this as a movie trailer. This is just that initial preview, so that to get you into the theater. In this case, this is that initial preview that you're sharing so that you can get that second meeting. This is not an opportunity for you to close a deal, get a check on that very first time. So with all that, that's a lot of information, and you only have 3 minutes to do it. So again, as we dive into this a little bit deeper, now you can start writing down. So like your initial outline is the problem, the solution, your target market. That's the core of what it is that we're going to get into for this session. This is a great first step. So then once you advance to the finals in November, we're going to ask for a little bit more information, but this is a great first step. So let's dig into that a little bit. So some things to consider. We want to make sure that you talk about the idea and the innovation behind what it is that you're doing. So this is, I'm breaking everything down. Everything it aligns with the problem, solution, and target market. So don't get too bogged down during this first part. So the big thing when it comes to the problem portion, when you're describing it, you know the problem really, really well. You need to describe it in a very succinct manner and not go on too long. But the big thing that I want you all to realize is that the judges don't know you. They don't know you, they don't know they don't know the product. So if you go too long on the problem and you're not able to explain the product or the service that you're providing, it's going to be really difficult for them to understand what it is that you actually do, how you make money, who you are targeting. So that's where a lot of people in Start Peninsula, that's where they go wrong. And that's where they go wrong in other pitches as well, is that they're like, man, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand. And unfortunately, when you're constrained to 3 minutes, that 3 minutes goes by really, really fast. So what is the problem? Remember that the judges don't know you and what it is that you do. But the big thing is you want to initially, is the problem big enough? And I say that in the sense of, are you selling, if you're selling trombone oil, that market for trombone oil is very, very small. But if you're doing something that has a huge addressable market, then that's a completely different story. So is the problem big enough? And for the purpose of, if you're raising money or competing in something like Start Peninsula, you want to make sure that you are doing something that is big enough. And how do you differentiate yourself? And the point that I want to drive home with this is not a matter of bashing competitors. This is, you really want to keep the focus on yourself, and you want to talk about how much better you are doing things. You can list the other competitors, but I see a lot of people, they'll go down, they'll create a chart, and they'll talk about, oh, company X, Y, and Z, they don't do this, they don't do that, and the other. I mean, if you have a quick chart that everybody can see, there's no point in highlighting other people's names and talking about other people. If anything, that may plant a seed in the judge's head, in the sense of, well, what they do is good enough. I'm not sure that you've differentiated yourself enough that you're going to change customer behavior. So, like, with that, how much better is your solution? And you want to think about that 10x aspect. So typically, to get a customer to change a behavior, it needs to be 10 times better than what the status quo is. So that's what I want you to focus on, is how much better you do is than what other people are doing. So that is the first part in terms of the idea and the innovation. The next piece, and that touches on your the problem and solution. Next thing I want to talk about is the team. This is really, really important because a lot of people overlook this. Some things to consider with the team is that this is a place for you to showcase your strengths. If you have a long history, you have the experience, you have whether if it's education or if it's actual doing this job, you have managed a team that's doing it. I mean, you want to come out with your strengths. If, for example, if you are an aeronautical engineer that is developing a drone that never has to land, and you don't talk about the fact that you have a PhD in aeronautical physics, that's a pretty big key element to have. Or if you worked, you've worked at NASA for 27 years in this particular field, and that you now want to take this technology out on your own, that you have the patents and rights to do so. That is all really, really important stuff, and don't underestimate how important that is. And the next thing is why are you the person in the team to solve this problem? And primarily, like, what is that why? We'll go into the why here in a moment, but why are you the people to do it? I mean, that is, the highs are high, the lows are very low in entrepreneurship. It's a very long journey. It's not a straight path up and to the right. There's ups, there's downs, there's dips, there's valleys, there's peaks, there's everything. So why are you the people to do it? And so again, when we're talking about the fact that you only have 50 seconds as part of your solution, and the team aspect is a really big part of that, you have to pack a lot of information in just a short amount of time in terms of why you have the team and why you're the people to do it. Things that you also want to touch base on is the marketability and who your customers are. So you want to identify your customers. And I will tell you right now that when it's asked, everyone is my customer, that is not the answer that people are looking for. You want to make sure that you really understand who that is, what's the size of the market. So what I'm talking about here is like you're a total addressable market, your TAM. So like if you're in the housing industry, that's like a multi-trillion-dollar TAM, but there's no way that you're going to target the entire housing market or real estate market. So you need to really understand in the sense of maybe you're just getting started and you haven't found product market fit yet. You're trying to scale, so you're just going to focus on 1 to 2 bedroom homes that are 1,600 square feet, whatever the case is. The narrower that you can make that total or that addressable market from the very beginning, the better off you're going to be. And that way that you can establish that product market fit and then slowly expand greater and greater and greater. It sounds really, really counterintuitive, but I'm telling you, I've seen it over and over again. A lot of times when founders first start, they need revenue. So they're going to do anything and everything they possibly can to generate that revenue because they got to survive. And then you take on the wrong customer. And when you bring on the wrong customer, and they have one expectation, you have a completely different expectation, but you took them on anyway because you needed that revenue, then you just start butting heads and things just don't work. And then you regret it, they regret it. It's a bad experience for everybody. But if you know who that ideal customer is from the very beginning, everything just works. And then on top of that, you're having fun. And when you're having fun, you'll be amazed at how much more business that you're able to generate because you're just in your groove. You've hit that momentum, and then you just keep on riding that wave. So demonstrate your understanding of the size of the market, go after that market. Don't be afraid if it's too small. I mean, the whole key is once you identify it and then you continue to grow, whether if that's in terms of customers or revenue or both, that's the story that we're focused on. Just because you're able to tackle a really big market segment, that's not going to be the thing that gets you to where you want to be. So again, I touched on this, the smaller the focus, the better. One of the things that we typically will say is that, hey, when you think that you've got that market segment identified, narrow it down one more time, because it's one of those things that the smaller the focus, the better off you're going to be. And then really, how are you delighting customers? Do you have customers? So if you have customers, make sure that you say that. I mean, it's amazing to me how sometimes when someone's in a pitch, they won't even talk about the fact that they have customers. So if you have customers, talk about it. And if you're delighting those customers, then that's really important information that you want to share as well. So maybe you have a slide on there where when you're talking about your marketability, that you have a couple quotes or a couple testimonials that people have shared. I'm not saying you necessarily have to read those because all of that takes time, but it's really, really important to make sure that the people that you're pitching to knows that you have customers, they're delighted, you're providing that 10x improvement of the status quo, and that your business is on the right path moving forward. And with that, being on the right path, that brings you to the next piece, which is the execution. The execution, I mean, you can have all the greatest ideas in the world, but if you can't execute on those ideas, then you're stuck. And that's primarily why NDAs are not something that Start Peninsula does or any investor does, is just because you have the secret sauce, you have the know-how, you have the knowledge, you have the passion to do it. And you shouldn't be sharing anything that is NDA worthy to begin with. So when you do have those down days, you're the one that has the passion and the drive to keep everything moving forward. So in terms of the execution, the things to consider is, how are you going to make this a reality? And this is really where we start getting into that why. A couple years ago, we had one of the winners I believe, oh my gosh, it may have been 6 years ago now. Um, the company was called Answers Now, and they developed an app for autistic children. So if your child has a meltdown in a store somewhere and you have no idea what to do, then you could use this app. It connects you with ways that you can neutralize that situation. And they understood what their why was, and because he was the father of an autistic child. So it was like, he knew no matter what, I'm the person that's going to solve this problem. I am going to make this a reality. So what's going to get you out of bed in the morning when you have that first negative experience? But with that, investors invest in the people, not necessarily the idea. So the whole cliche about we bet on the jockey, not the horse, that is because exactly for that reason. So again, when you're talking about the team, that's a really important thing to share when I was talking about the history. If this is not your first time starting a business, make sure that people understand that, because me personally, I'm more apt to invest in somebody that has started a business and failed and then started again versus investing in a business and starting a business for the very first time. The lessons that were learned from failing in that business is it's just, there's so much information. You learn so much more from failing than you do from winning. So if you are a second-time founder or a third-time founder, make sure you share that information, share what your why is. There's so many times during this, through Start Peninsula and the other pitches, that you hear someone and they are so passionate about solving that problem. They're like, wow, this person they are going to solve this problem. They get it, they believe it. There is nothing that is going to keep that person down. So even if you listen to like some old stories about Travis from Uber, I mean, like, people were like, they were super hesitant to invest in Uber just because the taxi union was so strong and the government policies to overcome those were so strong. But he had that personality that they knew that no matter what, they were going to overcome those obstacles and make it a reality. So they invested in him because they knew it was going to happen. And, just another side note, it was his third time starting a business. So those were all things that were in his favor. So it's all about the execution. I mean, it's, again, like, there's a reason that the back here that's a Tesla from Fremont, because I mean, it's just like Elon Musk. Well, he's just one of the greatest executors. He will make it happen no matter what. Him sleeping on the factory floor, whatever the case is, it's all about execution. What is your why, and making that a reality? This is really a slide looking ahead for in November when you all advance. It's just looking at the investability of what your venture is that you're trying to do. Just some things to think about in terms of, is an investment necessary? This could be a whole class within itself, but is bootstrapping okay? To me, I would much rather see someone out there really, really trying to get customers and grow organically than putting everything on hold, not focusing on their product, not focusing on their team, not focused on delighting customers, and like saying that they can't move anywhere without a check from an investor. I mean, that just, look to see what can be done. There's so many things. So when you're focused on that MVP, your minimal viable product, what can you do today to set yourself up so that you can get to the next step? Continuing to march the ball down the field, down the court, whatever the case is. That's not saying that you can't take investment later, but what can you do today, and is it necessary today? Then why do you need that investment? What is keeping you from moving forward? And then what is that money going to be used for? All things that you need to think about. They're very common questions that are asked by judges. So the smarter you can be, the more prepared you can be, the better off you're going to be when it comes to this. We go through a whole orientation with the judges, and we try to keep them in their lane, but when they hear you all pitch, they get really excited. And no matter how much we try to keep them within those lanes, it's just always a common question. So what do you need the money for? What does your roadmap look like? So we want to prepare you now to think about what are those different things that you need and why you need them. It's just going to set you up in the future. Another common question that is asked over and over and over again is, what are your basic needs? And I touched on this in terms of what your closing might be. So think about what are some of the things that you need, and think about that secondary audience that's going to be watching, in terms of, because in the audience at Start Peninsula, you're going to have investors, you're going to have mentors, you're going to have potential customers, you're going to have a whole bunch of people in the audience that you may not be aware that are going to be there. And even just as important, you don't know who those people know within their network in terms of who they can introduce you to. I mean, the degrees of separation amongst the world today is smaller than it ever has been before. But the thing that I love about the entrepreneurial community is that they're so willing to help. And if you don't share what your needs are, then people don't know how they can help you. And if you would be amazed at how often people will go that extra mile to do what they can to help you. So use that vulnerability as a strength and not a weakness. Coachability is something that comes up over and over and over again. We want to make sure that when you have a mentor that you're coachable, because if you're not, then you're just you're not going to change your behavior. You're wasting the mentor's time. So with that coachability, we want you to really leverage that vulnerable side and use that as a strength, not use that as a weakness. And again, you'll be amazed at, when you ask for help, how many people, how many resources that you can be connected with. It's super, super special. Some tricks of the trade. Everything leading up to this point was really talking about a lot of the business aspect with everything. And this is typically the point in time where we turn things over to Gary. As I mentioned, Gary, he has been a professor at various different universities and educational institutions. He is a performance and presentation coach. He gets it. And one of the things where what people don't understand or they overlook is the fact that this is a performance. This is not, so you have to have that charisma. And that's like what people spend all their time on the slides and on the message, but they don't talk about the performance aspect. So it is practice, practice, practice. So I cannot stress that enough. And that is one of the beauties about Pitch Perfect, is the fact of, we tell you the information that you need, but then it pushes you to practice that information. Because when you time yourself and you're like, oh gosh, I'm at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, I need to cut 30 seconds out, it starts to get really, really difficult on what information and how you have to shuffle everything and bring everything together. It really is like a mosaic piece of art when you really start to look at it. And when you can tell immediately when someone has worked on that pitch, because it just flows. There is that the passion just bleeds out of them. I mean, we've seen some really, really awesome transformations as long as we've been doing this. So some other things, don't start with a question. A lot of times it's almost like a nervous energy type of thing. When it's your time to pitch, be like, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Or have you ever been in a situation where this happened? And it happens all the time. And I think it's almost like one of those things when we see people go on stage, or you're at a rock show or a concert or something, and people are like, hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Or, or from a comedy standpoint, have you ever been in a situation where this happened? Well, you start a question, it wastes a ton of time. Again, you only have 3 minutes. So you state the question, you pause for a couple of seconds, waiting for a response. You're on Zoom to begin with, so you're not going to be able to hear a response. And so now you've wasted about 10 seconds in which you can take that information and really, really use it to your benefit to state some way more impactful things than asking what the question is. On top of that, what if you're the only person that experienced that problem? So you're like, hey, has anyone ever experienced this? And then there's crickets. And then it's just like, dang, my whole thing that I thought I was going to build on has just been just completely just done. I mean, so then what are you going to do? So from a mojo standpoint, it just totally deflates your confidence. So don't do that. Don't start with your name. And the primary thing is we don't care, but we don't care just yet. We want to make sure that you grab their attention, you identify a problem, let them come to the conclusion. It's like, dude, why do you like the whole thing that you want is to have someone come think to themselves, wow, I wish I would have thought of that. It's like, and if you can get people to be thinking that way, you know you've done something right. And then when they experience that, and then you talk about the solution, you're like, whoa, that totally makes sense to me. I get it. Then when you state your name, then you sum everything up. You're stating your name twice anyway, so don't start with your name. Get the attention, get after it. And again, you're that movie trailer. Delete anything that is irrelevant to your story. So starting with your question, that is irrelevant to your story. And so what I mean, like when people will drone on and on and on about the problem, that's probably like, what is it you need to state that shows this, demonstrates a story, demonstrates that you understand what the problem is, and then move on. So technical people are really, this is where they get into trouble, because they think that I have to get really technical with my speaking. I have to describe the problem very technically. I need to solve the problem really technically. But that's not the case. The thing is that the audience is very simple. The judges are very simple. Again, you're not trying to get that check on the very first meeting. You can dive into all the technology and all of the nitty gritty in meeting 2, 3, and 4, or whatever the case, or however many meetings it needs. But keep things really simple so that everybody can understand. And you have to constantly ask yourself, is this relevant? Is it not relevant? So you're weighing that. You have to, again, I can't stress enough, this is a story and a performance. So many people, this isn't a matter of, so like your initial rough draft would be like, my problem is, my solution is, my target market is, that's all great. But the whole philosophy in terms of numbers tell, stories sell. People are visual learners. And when you share things through a story, then that people can visualize that in their mind, and it resonates with them. And so many times afterwards, people won't necessarily remember your name, but they will remember that story that you shared. So when we're framing everything, it would be like, it would start with, I would like to introduce you to John. John has this particular problem. He's searched all over for it. There is nothing that has been able to solve this problem until now. We have developed the technology to overcome this. This is how we do it. And then my name is Tim Ryan, ... But if you can start with a story and make things really visual, people are the visual learners, and that is going to resonate with them. And again, it is that, I can't stress enough, it is a performance. It is a performance. For every slide and every line, you need to ask yourself a couple things. And one is, does it enhance the story? And then 2, does it detract from the story? And this is the part when we get towards the very end, where we're trying to chop like a few seconds here, a few seconds there, in order to enhance a story. Then you're going to have to add a couple things. So that means you're going to have to take away from another part. Everything has to just totally gel and flow with it, so that you can get it right. And it's just, this is some parts that it gets really, it gets difficult, because you're really close to this and you may feel that it's really important, but this is the part where you practice everything and you share it with people. And then as you're sharing this with people, one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to write, anytime someone asks a question, I want you to write it down. And I want you to keep a log of every question that somebody asks. So then after you've practiced this over and over and over again, you're getting better every single time. But then if you see a pattern of the same question being asked every single time, there's a hole in that pitch. You now need to take that question and you need to put that into your pitch so that you can address it up front, because what will happen is if somebody is listening to your pitch and if they have that question, they're only going to be focused on that question, or chances are they're only going to be focused on that question as opposed to following along with your pitch. So take that inventory of those questions, incorporate it into the pitch. It's going to make things, it's just, the result is going to be way, way better. And everything is just going to flow. And that is everything in terms of this first piece. This is our contact information. So make sure that you, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on email. Gary, who's not with us tonight, he will be leading everything tomorrow. But I can say confidently that Gary and I both, again, we have that give before you get mentality. So if you have questions, ask. We'll be happy to answer those questions. If you want to send us a draft of your pitch, we're happy to review it. If you want to send us an audio recording or a video of you providing that pitch, we'll provide the feedback. I mean, we're really, really dedicated to helping you because we want to see you succeed. With that, happy to open everything up for questions, and I can continue to expand on other areas because I'm sure that there's just so much to it. I'm sure that there's a lot that I can expand upon and lead you off in a solid direction. One of the things that's really interesting about doing this, we've done it so many different times that every time is a little bit is rather unique, and I try to continue to learn along the way as well. So I'm always sharpening my skills. So, for example, one thing that that I left out was when you're doing your slides, really try to. I don't want you to try to pack 10 pounds of information into a 5-pound bag. I mean, so one slide, 1 point. If you try putting too much information on the slides and people then start to focus on slides versus listening to you, that's not, so that's what you want to try to avoid. So every slide, 1 point, makes it super, it just works.
Hey, Tim.
Yo.
This is Alan. So
hey, man,
with regards to the slide, yeah, thanks. With regards to the slides, simple or, how simple do you want to keep those slides so that they're not distracting to the audience?
So Gary has his rule is I believe it's no more than 6 lines and six words per line. The other rule that I go by really is taking the 6x6 rule. If you take if you try to guesstimate the average age of the people that are in the audience and then divide that number in half, then that should be your font size. It shouldn't be any smaller than that. So it's a little bit, I guess it's a little different with Zoom maybe, but that's a good that will keep you, it'll force you from not having just all the information, just an eye chart on your slides. But yeah, no more than 6 lines per slide and not more than 6 words per line. So, but pictures, as we all know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. And, if you have some sort of I mean, it's if you did have a small clip or something like that, then video actually, yeah, it is more. But I wouldn't suggest anybody, if you're thinking about it, that, oh, I'll just pre-record my pitch and then I'll just hit play and then share that. That's not going to fly super well either. What else does everybody have? So again,
Yeah.
oh, someone's gonna say something.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like you mentioned early on, like how to determine the size of your market. And for me, the I've got a client that's one person, and I've got a client that has 60,000 users. So it's not necessarily I'm trying to target a specific function, but I'm not targeting like a specific business size. And so I don't know how to filter that down whenever I can accomplish both.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even look at it in terms of business size. Looking at it more in the sense of how many businesses could you target, especially. But then, in terms of things that I would want to make sure that you're aware of is like getting to the decision maker for a 60,000 person business is going to be much harder than getting to the decision maker of a smaller company as
Yeah.
well. So keeping that in mind in terms of, hey, my roadmap moving forward or my go-to-market strategy is I want to start with the small to medium-sized businesses that I can. It's just the point of entry is just much easier than going the other way and then building upon that momentum. That would be something that I would consider. But and certainly if you have like I mean, and if you were like dead set on going after the bigger type of businesses, then it'd be like, hey, it's just rather than a top down SaaS model, it's a bottoms up SaaS model where we're going to attract people that the users that can't live without this product. And then they push that up to their CTOs or CIOs or whatever the case might be, so that you can get it. But just making sure that you understand, one, having a strategy, understanding the strategy, and then being able to talk to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm reading Brian's computer. He says my product is a cell phone accessory. I was going to start my pitch with who owns a cell phone, or ask them to show me their phone so I could state the importance of my phone. Is that not a good idea? So I think that, to me, rather than asking that question, if you went out there and if you said that 99% of the people today have cell phones, and stating it by fact would be more impactful than taking the time to, I mean, really, I mean, not to then stating the obvious, just because, I mean, it seems like anybody that is everyone's got a phone unless they're under the age of, I don't know, 10, 8, I don't know. And then onward, they all have phones now. So, yeah, I mean, and also if you said that there was X amount of number, that X amount of Americans or whatever have cell phones, now you're demonstrating that you understand the size of the market before you even get to it. So then it's almost like a two banger. If you're able to do that, you're avoiding the question and demonstrating that you know the size of the market all at the same time. Yeah, and Gary's talking, everyone can check out the his response in the chat that one of the things, the other thing that comes with documenting all of the questions that are asked, and I started going down this, and I derailed myself a little bit because I had a different point, was that if people uh, once they get that confusion, it's just really, really hard for them to reel them back in. So anytime that you can anticipate a point where there might be confusion, you want to make sure that you can steer them away from that and just be very, very direct, very succinct, and avoid that confusion as much as possible. Just because it's much, much smoother. And another aspect is making sure that you want to demonstrate everything, that you don't have a solution looking for a problem, that you really have a no kidding problem that needs to be solved. That's one of the things that I love so much about Start Peninsula, and being part of all the founders, is the fact that just to see all the different problems that are being solved out there, it's super cool, super motivating. And it's really, really cool from even working like with folks at the high school level or the college level. They're solving a whole bunch, so many different problems that I'm not exposed to. So, but then when I hear it, it's like, wow, man, that totally makes sense. Or as the population continues to age, we are now in an opportunity where we're able to identify solutions to problems that the technology was not in existence before, to try to address those problems. So that's really neat within itself. What else? Or does anybody want to? Anyone else want to give their pitch, or does somebody want to step up and give their pitch a try? And again, this is
I don't have the slides ready, so.
well, we don't need, and you don't even need slides. You just even if anybody was just, like I said, it's reading off a scratch piece of paper. It's really that's when you can see everything really come to light in terms of how we're able to take those different, what's being said, and create that story around everything. It's pretty fun to experience.
Yeah.
That's right. Jump in the pool. The water's fine. Because the thing is that everybody thinks, if they watch one episode of Shark Tank and they think that it's super easy, and people totally misgauge how much time and how much practice goes into making those pitches sound so flawless. I mean, it takes a ton of time. And we've had people that I will say, Star Peninsula is 100%. You will get out of it what you put into it. And some people, if they don't advance, they'll get ticked off, and they'll be like, "Oh man, this place, man, this sucks. It was a terrible experience." Da 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 da, and they won't go forward. Yeah, and that's on you. I mean, the truth is, it's on you. But I can tell you one thing: there's several people out there that they went to all the pitch perfects. They pitched. They had a bad night. They stumbled. They didn't make it through. They knew that they had a bad night, but they came back the following year. They went to the pitch perfects. They won, and then they've gone on to raise a lot of money and funding, and they're doing really, really well. It's just a matter of, the whole thing is not a matter of how many times you fall down. It's how you get back up and get after it. So the people, and it's not even the people that win that do the best. It's the people that just continue to just get up, brush themselves off, and then and then keep on trying. I mean, it's super, super motivating to see what people have been able to do. And at the same token, it's been pretty disappointing too, when you see people that have a really great idea, they just have the wrong attitude. If things just don't go their way. And another thing real quick that I would recommend for folks is that if you can get into September, get in and compete in the September micro pitch competition, because if something happens and you totally botch and you have a bad night, you can still come back in October and try again. And the lessons you're going to learn from that first time, I mean, it's going to put you in a way, way better position for the next time that you do it.
Hey, Tim, can I jump in really quick?
Hi, Gary.
Hey, sorry, I can't be on the thing because I'm not dependable for tonight, but otherwise I can. The one thing I was just going to say is that Tim talked before about vulnerability being a strength. And I can pretty confidently say that in past Pitch Perfect things, the people who have gone ahead and given it a try, even though they weren't totally ready, it wasn't perfect, none of that, they do better because they actually jumped in and they went ahead and were vulnerable. I strongly encourage everybody to give it a try if you can, like tonight, like right now.
And we did have another.
He's ready to go. He's ready to go.
One more pitch ticket has been accounted for, so now there's only two.